And the whole catalyst to all of this is her changing the dance of the family. The family dynamics changed that day. Changed. And then everything started rolling, falling into place.
Yeah.
It's like full circle right there.
Yeah.
It's kind of that first episode we started with, and we're now hopefully trying to encourage those that are in that same situation to take that first courageous step.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it always is a full circle moment. At every step of the way, you can always go back, because now is this a 16th episode? And we're talking about not enabling people and the community you put around you. And it all comes back to that moment she stopped enabling and put a community around herself. My mother is who we're speaking about, to help push her to the top, which in turn helped push Dad to the top, which in turn helped push me and my brother and my sister and all of the people that started getting involved in the community that started from my mom putting her foot down and saying this is enough. And that community continued to build and has continued to grow. Some of the people that you guys have talked about and had on this podcast are people that I've known my whole life. I've known Stefan my whole life. I've known Louie and Alicia and Aaron and some of the people you mentioned, right? And there's countless others that have come and gone that have been big parts of my life. You know, you mentioned it, Dad, that they were always at our house. So it's that community that we continue to build, and we continue to reach out, and we continue to try to help people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Push Each Other to the Top. Today's a really cool, special day. We got Michael on as a guest, as part of the family. So happy that you're here.
Thanks for having me.
And we tried this a week or so ago in our timeline anyway. The folks, you don't know, but we started a podcast, and some way partway through, Michael had to get up and leave. And why don't you tell us what happened? Because that's so crazy.
Yeah, we were right in the middle of doing the podcast, like you said, and my wife comes running in, Brooke, and she says, "There's a fire, we got to go." And I don't know what that means, and so that's what I told you guys. There's a fire, I got to go. So anyway, I shut my iPad and I was running outside to see what was going on, and 2 houses across the street were ablaze, and it was bad. And then we ended up getting some video because I was able to get my iPad back open. You guys are listening to the chaos and saying, show us the fire.
That's right.
So I did, and everybody probably thought I was a weirdo for doing it, but it was really scary. Luckily, everybody made it out. Everyone's safe. No pets or people got injured. So
Good deal.
Everything's good.
It was a bad fire. That was a bad fire.
It was.
Yeah.
And I was saying some prayers right there. I was like, oh, please help them people to get out and be safe, and the firefighters can put that thing out as quickly as possible.
Well, appreciate the prayers. I actually did notice that you were saying a prayer there for a minute, so thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, what should we do today?
I don't know. Should we get some cards out, play some poker?
Yeah.
We can try that. I'm terrible. I have a bad poker face.
Yeah. I think I just listened to where we left off in the middle of that podcast, and we're talking about the family. And, I just think that's such an important part of this whole deal is I've just have this overwhelming feeling, and I've had this for a long time, to help families. I just worry about how many resources are out there, and I talk to so many different people and that are in situations where they're either their son or daughter or spouse or somebody's got an addiction problem, and the family's just lost. They have no clue. Randy got me tapped into one of her friends here lately, and she called me, and her husband had just gone through treatment, and they were doing really, really well. They decided to do a little celebrating and go on a little family vacation to Florida. And they went down there, and he got a hold of a bottle and started drinking. And gosh, she was just a mess and didn't know what to do. And Randy got her to call me, and I got to spend a couple of hours on the phone with her, and it gave her some direction of what to do. The funny thing about family is, the things that your brain tells you to do for the alcoholic is probably absolutely wrong. Don't listen to your brain. You think you're going to help your loved one or whatever, and the truth of the matter is you just hurt more than you help. So it's important to get educated and figure out a path. Because I always tell people when I talk to them on the phone, I always tell, I'm going to tell you things that are going to be really uncomfortable. The things that you need to do are not going to be easy. There's no easy answers to this. Addiction is ugly. It is mean. It is powerful. It destroys families. It's like a tornado going through a family. It tears everybody up. And there's no easy fixes. I can't just flip a switch and make everything okay. I can't give you a couple of pieces of advice and expect everything's going to work for you. You're going to have successes and you're going to have failures along the way. You're going to find things that work for you and things that don't work for you. But some of the things that I'm going to suggest you do are hard things to do. They're difficult things to do. They're things that are extremely uncomfortable. You guys.
So I just wanted to touch on it because you said it a couple of times, and I just want you to give some clarification because I've heard you say it a couple of times, maybe not even just this episode, but another, but you do the opposite of what your brain tells you to do. And I know you're just brushing over it because someone needs to get help for wherever they're at. But what are maybe some of those things? Like give some more clarification on what that means. Because, I've been through that. I see that. I kind of understand what you're saying, but just like a brief thing, like you think you ought to do this, don't do that thing.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, a lot of times, just something simple is the alcoholic or the addict or everything, their child will come up and say, well, I need money for this, or I need money for that. And if I don't get this money, I'm going to lose my job, and they always give you a threat. It's always like, if you don't bail me out of this right now, I'm going to lose my car. I'm going to lose this. There's always this consequence that they're so afraid of. Well, I think it's so important that, and I say this a lot, is you can't save them from their own pain. If they've got themselves into a problem where if they don't have money to take care of the problem, well, guess what's going to happen? Maybe they are going to lose that job. Maybe they are going to lose their car or whatever. Let them be responsible for their own behavior. If they've got themselves in a position where that's going to happen to them, let it happen. Let them feel the pain. Let them feel the consequences for what's going on. And that's so hard for a parent. It's so hard for a spouse just to step back and say, you got yourself into this. I'm not bailing you out this time.
You made your bed. You got to lie in it.
You got to lie in it.
You guys taught us that all the time. So that was perfect. I just wanted some clarification on that because those are the types of things that come up and it's like, well, I can't let that happen to them. Well, they did it to themselves and they have to walk through that pain. Otherwise they never learn.
They're so good at manipulating, they're so good at making that story sound so bad and so vital that they get whatever it is that they want, whether it's money or whatever. They make it sound so horrible that, and 99% of the time people just like, oh, I can't let my kid go through that. I can't let them have that much pain. Well, the pain is what gets them well. Don't save them from their pain. Let them feel the pain of life. It's the way it is.
That's so hard, for a family member. Like, I can imagine someone that I know that is going through that. It would be so hard not to want to help, right? Because, that's what we're from where, you got to be kind and help people, but sometimes the help is not help, right? It's enabling that
Exactly.
behavior again. And so I think
Exactly.
that's where it's tough to know as a family member, like, wait a minute, am I enabling their behavior and their addiction? Or is this a time to be helpful? And and maybe, and I guess that's why you need someone to guide you through this. Is that
Yes, yes, exactly. You know, and unfortunately, and people have a hard time hearing this, but I believe that the codependent, the Al-Anon in the family, is as sick as the alcoholic. Now, think about that for a minute. Now, how's that possible? Well, you get so deep into this enabling, you know, the Al-Anon or the codependent, they have no clue what they like. This gal I was talking to, Randy's friends, I asked her, I said, when's the last time you did something for you? Oh my God, she broke out in tears. She goes, Brent, I don't even know. All they think about is them. All they think about is that alcoholic and what they can do to fix them and what they, you know. And the thing is that starts going down this spiral to the point where the Al-Anon or the codependent starts doing this behavior, not so much anymore for the alcoholic, but for themselves to feel better, because I feel better when I do this, even though I know it's hurting them, but I feel better, and it's like,
I feel like
so are you helping them? Or are you helping you?
Right.
It's a real fine line. Why are you doing this behavior? To make you feel better or to help the alcoholic? Because if the answer is the alcoholic, then not doing the behavior is the right thing to do.
Right.
And that is such a concept that people cannot wrap their head around.
It's hard.
And that's something that's not even just, because we talked about earlier how I was in Alateen and I went to all these things. It isn't just the alcoholic. It's also for you, because you don't have to have that alcoholic relationship to be able to enable somebody, right? You can enable somebody to treat you poorly, or you can do things that you think are the right thing, but it's just continuing to cause a pattern of behavior, whether it's alcoholism or not, that you don't want, and you can't understand why it's happening, but you're unwilling to look at your actions and clean up your side of the street, which you talked about. So there's all sorts of different ways it can happen, right? Like sometimes you can be doing it out of fear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can do it out of fear where you're doing the wrong thing, but thinking it's the right thing.
They're threatening to suicide. What do you do in a situation like that? I mean, that's such a scary place, because if you don't help me, I'm going to go kill myself. It's like, what? So, and I'm not here to say, just suicides. That's we.
Your connection's a little bad, Dad, I think.
Mine is.
There you go. Now you're back.
Yeah,
we just thought you said suicide is and then it kind of cut out.
All right, let me repeat that. Suicide is we could do 10 podcasts on suicide.
Yeah.
It's a very, very difficult thing. It's a monster of its own. And my brother committed suicide, and I've had a lot of my friends commit suicide. Some of the podcasts earlier, we talked about some of that. So people will threaten. They'll go to any length to be enabled. And you're so right, Michael. This isn't just about addiction. I mean, if you're in a dysfunctional relationship, there's whoever it may be, the girl or the boy, or the girl and the girl. I mean, I don't know, but one can hold the other one hostage because they don't feel secure in the relationship, that they're insecure, and they start going down that path of jealousy, and then the other person's trying to tap around, trying to figure out how they can keep them from being jealous. Well, that's a whole merry-go-round that's going to end up bad. It's going to end up bad every time. because jealousy isn't about the other person. It's about you and the insecurity you feel about you. And
100%.
you need to wrap your head around, that you're good enough for this person, or you're good enough. I often say God doesn't make any junk. We are good. Our lives are so valuable, so valuable. Each and every one of us deserves to be happy. We don't deserve to live in a relationship that's totally one-sided. We need to push each other to the top, whether that's in a relationship or in a addiction. It doesn't matter. We're talking about life. Yeah, we focus on addiction here, but codependency can tap into every aspect of your life. Work,
Oh yeah.
the same thing at work. You're tippy-toeing around situations at work. Boy, something that bothers me more than anything in the world is somebody being passive aggressive. You want to get my goat and get me really upset? Start being passive aggressive around me. It'll drive me absolutely crazy because I can't stand it. Like,
I'm with
you want to say something, say it. I'm not good with lying. I'm not good at trying to read your mind to figure out what you want. Baloney. That's not my job. If you got something to say to me, say it.
Jealousy was a good point that you brought up, because that's a feeling we've all felt at some point in our life. I think it's very relatable for everybody that might be listening to this or might be going through something where jealousy you think has to do with the other person. But this is the thing we're talking about, where you're enabling somebody. You have to stop looking outside yourself and look at you. In jealousy, you said it perfectly, that it's about you and your insecurities. It's not about the other person. And it's the same with dealing with alcoholism or dealing with an alcoholic. You have to look at you. What are you doing? You got to stop blaming people. You got to look at where you're at. What are you doing? What are you contributing to the relationship, to the alcoholic, to the whatever? The list goes on. But that was I heard you say that, and I just wanted to touch on that again, because that is a really simple thing to look at and go, oh man, yeah, jealousy. That's about me. That's not about the other person.
And it's how that individual is reacting to the situation, right? I mean, I've struggled with that kind of thing all my life. I think I mentioned this before, that what I see, that his struggles are reflected in me. It's so crazy. Like, I've never had that in my life. Like, I can relate to people and to relate to the parents that raised me and all of that. But it's another level to recognize that the DNA and the tendencies somehow got passed on, And I had a conversation just today about this very thing, about, wouldn't it be awesome if we could have such self-awareness and security that there could be chaos swirling around us like a tornado, but you could just be as calm as a spring morning, in the middle of that, so that you can react purposefully and intentionally, and without, with total control of your body, mind, spirit, emotion, And I just thought, wow, I am so far away from that. Like, I need some serious coaching on that. But I think that's the point, right? Is we need to reach out and get help, because your instincts, when you're in the middle of this, are not in the place that's going to be helpful. You've got to rely on something else for a while until you learn and internalize all of this. Am I getting that close? Is that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I really like what you just said about, there could be chaos going around us, all around us. And, our goal is to be able to sit in the middle of that and feel calm. A great example of exactly what you're talking about was Michael when the fire happened.
Yeah.
If you watch what happens to Michael when he goes from talking to us to the fire and him not knowing what to do and how to react, Now, I'm not picking on you, Michael, but I'm just saying, this really good example, because, you get confused. You're in a situation where he's responsible for the family. He's responsible for the house. He's responsible for all this stuff. He knows that he puts all this pressure on himself. He gets to a place where his mind isn't firing right anymore. If you could get to a place like that and calm yourself down, you can make good, rational decisions. But when you're in the heat of the moment, like Michael was, he didn't know, he couldn't get the water to come on. He couldn't do that. He was struggling because his brain wasn't firing correctly. If he would have just slowed down, and I don't know if I'm not a technical person. I don't know what you'd call that when your brain just kind of gets foggy. We've all been there. You get into a situation like that and you can't think right. But our goal is to be able to take a situation like that, breathe, and then take care of what needs to be taken care of and calm our brain down so it functions in a way that we can make real hard decisions at a very rapid pace. So I'm 70. I don't even want to tell you how old I am, but I'm old. And
It's so old.
it's practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
None of this is going to make us, we're never going to wake up one day and be perfect at this.
No.
And that's what I want the families to know out there. You are going to make a lot of mistakes. You are going to get in a situation where you're in the middle of a crisis and your brain's not operating right. And you need to walk away. You need to walk away, calm yourself down, and make good, rational decisions.
And be aware enough to know that you're not in a good place.
Yeah.
Right.
That takes a lot, because I knew, but that experience that I had with that fire, bringing it back to that, I will learn from that.
Yes.
I had a moment in my life where it happened that my daughter had called me. I thought it was an April Fool's joke. She was with a friend, and her friend's dad was seemingly dying.
Oh.
And I thought it was an April Fool's joke, but I was still rushing over there, and I was in a panic and I didn't know what to do. And I learned from that experience. We ended up saving him and it was okay. But I felt out of control, out of my mind. And you can attach that to the fire. You can attach it to a relationship, having the awareness that, hey, I was out of control in that moment, and I have to take what that experience taught me and learn from it. And if I just continue to try to take those steps, and it's not going to be perfect, just like you said, it takes time. The relationship that we've built, Dad, took time. It was a lot of effort, and there were hurdles, and there were great times, and there were things where we maybe made, we moved backwards, took some steps back, but it's just always trying to learn from the experience that you have, and getting better every day, like you said. Yeah. Some days will not be perfect. Some days you will take some steps back, but you can't stop. You can't give up, and you have to keep bringing in those people, your family, your loved ones, the community that you've surrounded yourself with to move forward. And that community has to be open and accepting to who you are, where you are, and be available to help instead of telling you how to fix it. Sometimes when I heard someone say this the other day, this guy was talking about where he was at specifically in the church. He was very righteous. He was very sure of himself and thought that he knew what everyone else needed. And people would come to him and he's kind of figured himself out a little more and become more calm and more open-minded. And people are willing to talk to him now. And they've come to him and said, I just wasn't willing to talk to you, because instead of meeting me where I was at and hearing me for where I was, you were trying to fix it and tell me what I was doing wrong instead of meeting me where I was at. So being open-minded and aware is such a big deal in exactly what you're talking about, Dad. Sorry, I interrupted a little bit, but I wanted to get that out.
I think those are great points. That's exactly right. And that's one thing that we need to accomplish here. We're not here to give lectures. We're not here to say we know it all. I'm not a professional. Yeah. I haven't gone to school and psychology classes or anything like that. I'm talking from my own experience, and I've been doing this for a long, long time. So I feel like I know what's going on. I have a pretty good view on things like this, and I've seen what's worked and I've seen what hasn't worked. But by no means am I, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I might change my mind tomorrow. It might be different.
Yeah.
I mean, but I
No,
feel
I
like
think
I
that's
still
good.
have the experiences.
Yeah, that reminds me of people that I know. There's and again that hurdle of their normal situation is an elevated almost panic. I think I've seen this in people.
Yeah,
Again, I'm no expert, but it to me, I know that kind of stress can be so harmful to your body, to how you operate day to day. And that becomes a normal, right? There's this high level of stress. And I would imagine the woman that you're talking about with her husband that went back out and drank. I can only get a sense for what is happening. I don't know, but um, that's really hard to get to realize that you don't even know what you prefer. And like, what would you, if you had a Friday night, what would you like to do? Well, I don't know.
exactly.
Because you're so concerned about the other person so I think these people are operating at a level that is so stressful, and it's the stress hormones are just raging through their body constantly. They think that's normal. And it's like, oh, you can be so much more calm, and so that you could think properly. You could, and I think that takes somebody, a guide, honestly, to help you through that. And I think that's your point, is you got to reach to somebody to help you start to get some of that calmness, that peace in your life. And there's
And
multiple
that's the
routes.
community. Yeah. That's the
Yeah, it's
community we talk about all the
Yeah.
time. That's the community. And, that's where prayer comes in, meditation comes in,
Yeah.
calming your mind so you can make good, rational decisions.
Yeah.
And, I want to tell a real quick story here, like I ever tell a quick story. But I I had a realization. Michael was talking about this guy that knew all the answers and everything. I last year I was here in Thailand, and I took a little trip, and I went to Cambodia. And when I got to Cambodia, I always go to the concierge and book a couple of tours. I had a food tour I went on. A couple of different. Well, they had this floating city tour. I didn't know what it was, but I went on it, and we got in a boat. And there's this whole city, this whole town, village, I should say, this whole village that are on uh, pedestals up on posts, and the river surrounds. It's in the water,
Hmm.
and these people are so poor. I mean, unbelievable poverty. And I'm looking, and they live in these shacks on these, and the river's everything to them. That's where they get their drinking water. It's their sewer. It's their food source. They catch fish, all this thing. And I'm looking at these people, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, because even a few pennies would help these people, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm going through there thinking, how can I help these people? I want to give them money, I want to do this and that. And then I noticed something, and it was really an awakening. I started watching these people, and they were all smiling. They were all laughing. The kids were playing in the water and laughing. I mean, gut laughs, to where they're chasing each other, and they're laughing, and they're falling in the river, and I thought, you arrogant sucker. You think money's the answer to everything. You think that you can go give them money and make those people happy? They're happier than me. Those people were the happiest people I've seen in a long, long, long time. You don't go through any American city and see what I saw. And so, who am I to say what other people need? Who am I to decide what's going to make other people happy? You
yeah,
know? And so I really learned a big lesson from that. You know, I I I'm not God. you know. I need to just realize where my boundaries stop and go. I need to take care of Brent. There's that old story that you're inside your own hula hoop. You throw a hula hoop down on the ground, and you get inside that hula hoop, and what you can control is inside the hula hoop, and what you cannot control is outside that hula hoop. And
Mhm.
that's I learned that from an Al-Anon lady.
Mhm.
And I think that's such a great tool to have. Like if you start losing your mind and you're going to try to figure out all these things for how other people should operate and how they should work and what they should do and what they shouldn't do, just get in your hula hoop. Just get in your hula hoop. Take care of you. And like Michael and I have talked about, and we've all talked about, is you have to take responsibility for your own stuff. You have to be able to get take care of you before you can take care of anybody else. And being inside that hula hoop is a good reminder that who do I need to focus on? It's not people outside that hula hoop. I need to focus on the person in the middle of that hula hoop, because that's one sick puppy and he needs a lot of help, you know and help from a power greater than myself, because I can't do this alone.
Yeah,
You can't do it
100%.
alone.
Wow. So good reminder. Yeah, I think I struggle with that all the time. Yeah, I get my ego gets inflated. I start to think that I know what's going on, and then God comes into my life and is like, "Bro, remember who's in charge here. Remember, I'm trying to help you, but you need to get out of your own way so that I can help you." I
Exactly.
had some kidney stone pain just this last week.
Oh no.
I get these pretty regular. My friends tell me that, man, this is an emotional thing, man. This is your anger in the wrong spot, and I think that's really interesting. Anyway, but so this pain, and I'm praying, please, this is a normal prayer for me. Please take this kidney stone pain away, and it really just humbles me, because then, and it did, it went away after a day or so. And I'm just like, wow, I am so not in control of my life. Like, I think I am. I think we all think we are. But, you know, I just heard from a friend that said two people on her family that have one that has passed already from cancer, and another one that found out today that they have a couple weeks to live from stage 4 cancer in the same
Yeah.
family. Like, this is, hard stuff. Like, man, we
Yeah.
we just we don't really have control over that outside of us, right? Like, but you're right. I love that. Just let's take care of you. Let's take care of what, and to get help from somebody that can help guide you through this, I think is so important.
And saying all this and talking about the alcoholic, and what we're talking about not enabling and this and that. A lot of pushback that I get from people is, well, if it's cruel if I don't help him, it's mean, it's cruel, it's like it's
Mhm.
it tells him that I don't love him, I don't care about him. No, it's not. Your brain tells you that, but you got to take a step back and realize. And one of the things that I think is vitally important, especially when you're talking to an addict or an alcoholic, you speak the truth. You do not try to BS them. Do not try to pull the wool over. Do not. They can read that crap so fast. They know that you're lying as soon as it comes out of your mouth.
Hmm.
Well, I don't have any money. I had to pay this bill. I had to do that. They know it's a lie. And what I think so important is, number one, you got to be honest, 100% honest. And that isn't it seems like an easy thing to do, but you have to take the risk of having pushback, right? Because if you're honest, they're going to get upset. They're going to get, but I always like to start the conversation with, I feel. Tell the alcoholic and the addict how you feel, not what they should do, not how this is going to happen or that's going to happen. Talk about when you drink and you do these things, how it affects me.
Mhm.
Do you know how I feel? Because I'll guarantee you, they hear that. They hear that and they feel that. And it's uncomfortable. But it's like, again, it's okay for them to be uncomfortable. When you stop trying to point your finger at them and tell them, you need to go do this and you need to do that. And you need to quit drinking and you can't do that pot around here and you got to do this, that. They don't hear any of that. It's just blah, 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 blah. But when you say, I feel, all that's gone. All the pushback's gone. They hear you.
It's that story that I shared before when I walked through this huge fear of telling you the truth, how I felt. And I started that story that when I came to you, I said, I feel like this when you yell at me or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
And it was that moment, that first time I saw you soften, or at least in my experience or how I had viewed it, I saw you soften. But when you're talking about telling the truth, I wanted you to go a little deeper into that because, or add some more detail to that, because you started to say it, why you want to be so honest with that alcoholic or that addict, because you started to say it, they'll see it through it, but what they'll do is twist it, right? So tell a little more about that. They'll find a way to manipulate what you're saying if you aren't honest and saying like what you said, I feel, right? Exactly. That's part of being honest. If you're not honest with them, you're enabling them to continue to manipulate you, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
They're going to take it down that path.
And they're so good at manipulating. They know every button to push. I mean, they know every heartstring there is. And if there isn't one, they'll install one. They will find a way to put one in there and install it. You know? So they know how to do all that. See, I think it's really important that we know that when an alcoholic family, almost every one of them are really, really similar. You get into this dance where the alcoholic he's controlling everybody and everything in the family. Everybody in the family acts a certain way because he is out of control. So everybody steps in and they do different things to try to control the situation. They're not controlling
balance it.
Balance it. Yeah, to make things work. It's not working. It just keeps getting worse. So what happens when somebody starts to get honest and they say, I feel, that alcoholic has no way of arguing with you about your feelings. They cannot tell you, well, you don't feel that way. They could say that, but you just say, hey, this is how I feel. And you talk about where you're at and what's going on in your life because of this situation without blame. Trust me. And then the whole once one member takes that move, and I talk about dancing the dance, when you quit dancing that dance and you go a different route, the whole family reacts to that. Everybody in the family changes. No longer does that alcoholic have that power over you, that fear, that control. Because trust me when I tell you this, the alcoholic, and it was just like the situation with Randy's friends, he had all of them held hostage. Everybody in the family was held hostage because of his behavior. He knew how to push their buttons. He knew how to control the kids. He knew how to control the wife. He knew how to do everything. Everything was everybody else's fault. It was never him. It was always everybody else. Well, if you do this, this, and this, I drink. Well, they changed their behavior because they believe him, right? So they change their behavior so he doesn't drink. Well, guess what? Well, they do this, this, and this, and he has to drink. You know, it's a merry-go-round. It's not honest. It's all bull. And I'm here to tell you that the alcoholic doesn't consciously know that. It just happens because he's got a disease that tells him that he has to drink no matter what. So he's going to say anything he can to get that next drink. But when the family member takes a step back and starts talking about, just like Michael did with me, Dad, when you discipline me and you yell at me like that, this is how I feel. Boy, I heard every word he said. And our relationship absolutely changed from that point forward. Absolutely. You know, I wasn't drinking and using at the time, but it's the same sort of thing, you know?
And it's important to say that saying I feel this way isn't a silver bullet
No.
in a sense. So don't take that and say, well, if I say I feel and then they still freak out, well, that's
Yeah.
you looking at them. That's you stepping outside of your hula hoop, like you just mentioned. You have to take responsibility for your feelings and your actions, and stop taking responsibility for their action or reaction to anything you say. You own how you feel, you own what you say, and you change your behavior because it's what's best for you, and the family will follow. If you say, I feel this way, and they react in a way that you didn't want, and you say, well, didn't work, well, nothing got accomplished. You can't think that that's just end all be all. It's you taking responsibility for your feelings and how you're going to respond, and owning your side of the street and cleaning that up, right? That I wanted to clarify that, because that's what it is.
I think that is an excellent point, Michael. I'm really glad you said that, because I remember when I was in treatment, we talked about feelings a lot, and there was people in my group that had no idea what a feeling was. They had no idea, and they had a list of things that were feelings. And so I met a lot of people in the program that, well, I feel, and then they go back into blaming, and they go back in. So first you got to do is you got to recognize what a feeling is and how you really feel. You have to look at yourself and say, this is what's going on inside of me. This is how I feel. So you may have to go get online and find out what feelings are and read them, to understand what a feeling really is, because you can say that comment and then stay sick. You can start your conversation with, oh, well, this is how I feel. But if you don't understand what feelings are, or you don't understand, you've got to get so honest. It's a whole different level of honesty when you talk about what's going on inside of me right now. When you drink, this is how I feel, it hurts me. I love you. I care about you. And it's really destroying who I am.
And then they could say something like, well, how does my drinking affect you? It shouldn't matter what I do, but you still own your side of the street. They could flip out. They could say whatever. And it said, it's how I feel. It's truly how I feel. Yeah. I love you. And then you gotta figure out what the next step is, right? You got to keep owning your feelings, and then you find someone that can help you. And maybe the next step is saying, hey, we've got to take a step back and figure this out. Mom did that with you, right? You can't come back to this house until you work a 12-step program. But you gotta own your feelings first of all. You got to figure out how to get to a place, whether it's getting over a fear or a realization of your behavior that's enabled the behavior of the person in your life. And maybe you need to take yourself out of that to help them get better. There's a million different ways it could go. There's no silver bullet, like we just said, but owning your piece in it, your feelings, your actions is so huge. It's the only way to start moving forward.
And what you just said was so important. Your mother came to me and she told me, she said, I am not going to live this way anymore. It's the first time she had ever said anything like that. I refuse to live this way anymore. She stood up for herself. She took responsibility, and she said, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm full of fear right now, but I can't keep living the way we're living. You have to leave, and you have to find help. Otherwise, we need to go our separate ways. Wow. What a scary place to get to. I mean, think about how much work that had to take to get to that place where she was honest, she was open, and she had enough. And that's what I want people to hear is that you've got to get to that place where you have to put yourself first. You got to take care of you. And if you don't take care of you, it's just almost impossible. What your mother did was that.
Sorry, go ahead.
What your mother did was the catalyst to all of this. That moment in time was the beginning. We stopped dancing that dance. The whole dynamic of the family changed at that moment in time. It all changed, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. She got honest and real enough that she took And the way she said it was, I couldn't argue with her.
Yeah.
She says, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I couldn't tell her well, you're not done. We can keep doing this. I'm such a great guy. You should keep me. You're going to lose a fabulous man. I could see in her eyes, she was done. And, I didn't argue. I packed my stuff and left,
Brave
that's
first
scary.
step.
Yeah.
Very
You
brave.
packed your stuff and left and still had this idea in your head that was still part of that manipulation, part of that. You were so sick, right? That like, oh, she's going to want me back. She won't be able to make it without me.
There's no way. I was surprised she made it the
You were
first
like,
day.
okay, I'll show you. You want me to leave? Fine, I'll leave. And thinking that you had her so trained and everybody in your life so trained that it was a huge, huge, huge step for her to stand up for herself and put the foot and the family. She stood up for
Right.
Bob and I and decided
Randy.
this is not how we will live anymore.
Right. She refused to live that way anymore.
And you say it all the time. I'll let you say it because you say it better, but nothing changes what you're saying.
Nothing changes unless something changes. Nothing changes unless
Nothing can change unless something changes.
Yeah.
And so she changed what was happening.
Yep.
Because otherwise we would have kept going down the same path, going through the same heartache, the same pain, the same struggles. And she said, that's enough. She put a fork in that path and said, we're going this way now. You're going to stay here until you can figure out how to catch up to us.
Yep. Yeah, my mind was thinking, oh, she can't live without me. The family's not gonna, I'm not. In fact, I went and stayed with a friend that was less than a mile away from the house because I knew she wanted me back, so I didn't want to get too far away, right?
Yep.
And the truth of the matter is, though, when I left, I thought, okay, now I can drink.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not going to be watching over me anymore. She's not going to be nagging me. I can quit controlling my drinking. I can let loose now and drink like I really want to drink and without her looking at me. And that's exactly what I did. And guess what happened? When nobody else was looking at my alcoholism, I had to.
Mm-hmm.
So the enabling quit, it stopped for me. And I ended up being by myself, looking at me, and nobody else was saying, Brent, you got to quit drinking. Brent, you drink too much. As long as they were doing all that, I didn't have to look at me.
Yeah, you had other people to blame.
Yeah.
You had no one else to blame at that point. And so
then I was left by myself, and I had to make my own decisions what I was going to do with that. And I drank enough. I've told the story. The guy that I moved in with, he ended up dying, and I ended up living in the pickup truck, sneaking into the house, to take a shower and grab some food every once in a while. But I ended up living in that truck, and all I had to do was look at me. And then one night I'm driving down the street and I have that spiritual experience. And the whole catalyst to all of this is her changing the dance of the family. The family dynamics changed that day. It changed. And then everything started rolling, falling into place.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like full circle right there.
Yeah.
It's kind of that first episode we started with, and we're now hopefully trying to encourage those that are in that same situation to take that first courageous step.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it always is a full circle moment.
Mm-hmm.
At every step of the way, you can always go back, because now is this a 16th episode? And we're talking about not enabling people and the community you put around you. And it all comes back to that moment she stopped enabling and put a community around herself, my mother, as who we're speaking about, to help push her to the top, which in turn helped push Dad to the top, which in turn helped push me and my brother and my sister and all of the people that started getting involved in the community that started from my mom putting her foot down and saying, this is enough. and that community continued to build and has continued to grow. Some of the people that you guys have talked about and had on this podcast are people that I've known my whole life. I've known Stefan my whole life. I've known Louie and Alicia and Aaron and some of the people you mentioned, right? And there's countless others that have come and gone that have been big parts of my life. You know, you mentioned it, Dad, that they were always at our house. So it's that community that we continue to build, and we continue to reach out, and we continue to try to help people. And I wanted to bring that back up too after listening to the beginning of this episode when the fire happened. You've said it, Dad, but what is it? Dive a little deeper. Tell a little more. Why is it so important for you now? And it probably is a simple answer to a question, but it's so much more meaningful. But why is it so important for you now to want to help people and families? What has happened in your life? Obviously, we've gone through all these stories, but what brought you here to where it's just like, oh my gosh, I just want to help people. That's what this podcast is. That's what these conversations are. It's you wanting to help people, and obviously Jonathan and I are a part of it too and going along for the ride. But what is it? What brought you to this realization or this point where it's just so important to you right now?
Well, that's an easy question to answer, and that's a real hard question to answer. You know, the first, I want to mention one other thing to follow up on what we were talking about earlier, just before I get into this. But you know, your mother changed everything, every dynamics of our family in one sentence, and asked me to leave. You know, the difference, and a lot of people have probably had those conversations. The thing was with your mother, and if you know this lady, you know when she says something, it's the truth. It's not kind of, sort of. There's no room for negotiation. It is the way it is. Trust me when I tell you that. When she said that, she meant it to her core. There was no going back when she said those words. So it's very important that people out there, if you're going to have conversations and you're going to get honest and you're going to talk about your feelings and how you can't, don't make idle threats. It's not, it doesn't work. If you're going to say something and you tell somebody you're going to take action, you really need to follow through with that action. So, Michael, the thing is when I first came into the program, I had lost my soul. There was nothing left. I was an empty shell of a man. I can't even describe how I felt. I was so broken and so lost. There was nothing inside of me. There was no spirituality. I was spiritually bankrupt. I was emotionally and mentally bankrupt. I had absolutely no hope. And people, for whatever reason, they were like angels, man. They stuck their hand out and they pulled me up. They pushed me to the top. And I never, ever forget that. And I've always said that gratitude is an action word. It's not, oh, I'm grateful, da, da, da. No, if you're grateful, then you give back. If you're grateful for something, that you have a responsibility to show that gratitude. And this was such a huge impact on my life and my family's lives. And I've lived two different lives. I know what it's like to be a drunk and a junkie. I know what that feels like. I know how desperate I was. I know how broken, how mean I was, how full of hate and anger. And then I got this opportunity and I had this spiritual experience, and then my whole life changed. And I just know that if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. But the thing is that every time I do this podcast or every time I stick my hand out, I take a phone call to help somebody, I feel so good about me. It just feels so natural. It feels so beautiful to be able to take the knowledge and the struggles and the things that I've gone through and be able to pass it on to somebody else to make their lives a little better. Today I care about people. I love people. That story is when I'm watching, Price is Right game and I'm bawling my eyes out because some guy won $10,000. I mean, where did that come from? That compassion for people. I have a lot of compassion and love for people today that I don't even know because I understand their struggle, and I just want to be able to, and I know I'm not God. I can't change everybody's lives, but if I can help a few people out there, you know, I've been doing this for long enough and I think I've shared some of the stories when I did some interventions, and then down the road I got to see these people and they thanked me or whatever. But I was sitting in a restaurant, Alice's restaurant, one time, and I'm sitting there, and this guy across her. Now, being an ex drug addict and a drug salesman, dealer, you do certain things, and I still do it to this day. I put my back to the wall in a restaurant. I can see everything that's going on, and I pay attention I can pick up on everybody's mood in that restaurant in a heartbeat. I sit there and I just scan the situation, and I'm like that. Well, there's this guy sitting on the other side of this restaurant, and he looks over at me, and he sees me, and we make eye contact, and there's something going on. He's staring at me. And like, I'm eating my food. I look back over there. He's staring at me. And I'm thinking, I'm sizing him up, Well, he's about this big, and, he's a few years younger than me. But I think if I take this plate and I plant it alongside his head, I think I'll be okay. I mean, I'm planning this stuff out, right? Because that's what I do. And so he finishes his dinner and we're about done. Well, it was breakfast or whatever it was. Anyway, he gets up and he goes, pays his bill, and then he turns around and he walks towards me. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. And I don't know this guy. I've never seen this guy before. And he stands above me and he looks down at me and he goes, is your name Brent? And I says, yeah, it is. Why? He goes, I just want to tell you that you changed my whole life. And I said, what? He said, I went to one of them meetings, one of those Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. He says, I sat there and you spoke, you talked. And he said, the things you said at that meeting have absolutely changed my life. He says, that was like 7 years ago. And I just really want to thank you for what you said. Oh my God. I'd never seen this guy before. And now you get thinking about how many times I shared in a meeting, how many people that I've touched, how many people has been in that same situation. I believe I've been given a gift. That's why I'm doing this podcast. I believe that I've been given a gift to be able to touch people and to talk to people and be honest with people. And I understand their pain. And I care. I have a deep, deep, deep care to help people. And I think that's a good trait. And I hope that never, ever goes away. Every time I help somebody, I help myself, But like we've said 1,000 times, you cannot give something away you don't have. I earned this position. I earned the place I am today. I earned the ability to be able to talk to people and to be honest with them and to help them. I did the work. There's not a lot of people out there that do the work. And so I think I'm in a pretty unique place to be able to talk to people from my experience. I haven't read books. I didn't go to school. I didn't go to, learn how to talk to drug addicts and alcoholics. I did it. I did it. When I read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, I've lived everything that book talks about. I live it. I've lived it. When they talk about things in that book, it's like, oh yeah, I've been there. It speaks to my heart. And I just feel like I can speak to people's heart, so I don't
That's
know if
beautiful.
that's the question. I just,
No, it does. And because you went through that and you got honest with yourself and you've had your own miracles happen, right? And
yeah.
you want to help families because you were able to get yours back. You've done a lot of things. You are not a professional, but you are an expert. And I can attest to that. You have, listening to this podcast and going through some of the episodes, I had this just awakening. I don't even know if I told you this, Dad, but I told Jonathan. I think I told someone else, but it was just like, oh my gosh, I just put the pieces together. It was like, I knew, but I didn't know. I knew that you worked the program, and I knew that you had sponsored people, and I knew your story. I knew all the stuff. And it was this realization in listening to this podcast and going through this experience that I went, oh my gosh, my dad is an expert. And that expertise took time away from, his family at times, took time away from things that he maybe wanted to do more, but what he needed to do was this. You had things that you had to do, and it's made you an expert. You're dang near 40 years into this thing, and I'm sure you feel like you've got a lot more to experience and a lot more to learn. But man, anybody that's an expert at what they do, it doesn't matter. Pick the field. Anybody that is an expert in their field, it takes time. It takes practice. It takes effort. It takes endless hours of perfecting your craft, knowing that you'll never, ever, ever have it all figured out, but that it's your passion. It's what you're good at. You have been given a gift. And I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for the relationship and the effort that you've put in to make your life what it is today.
Oh,
Beautiful.
oh, you guys, I'm going to start acting like the girls and start getting all teary-eyed.
Talk about your feelings again.
Yeah, talk about feelings. I'm supposed to
I love
love
it.
hard.
No, I love it. And that episode we did with the family is a perfect example, I think, of some of those outcomes, right? That you necessarily know, and your relationship with Michael and with Leslie and Randy, like, I don't know, outside looking in, man, it's so beautiful. It really is. And it's amazing. And,
dude, you're not outside anymore.
well, I you know what I mean.
Not outside anymore. Stop.
I didn't live through it. So
You're living it right now.
I am.
And it's about right here, right now.
I reap the benefit, and I'm just so grateful. Like I said, it's so cool to see an expert doing their thing. It's like your purpose. You know what I mean? Like, it's like why you're here on planet Earth is because there's lots of people who struggle here. I think we talked about that. The numbers are just crazy. And so there's lots of opportunity to help others. And I love it. I love just being a part of this. Like, it's so cool. I'm learning so much. And because alcoholism touches my life and my family, my wife and her family. And so, yeah, we're gaining so much, just by doing this, just by having these conversations. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's a wonderful thing. It really is.
Well, and there's people out there that are listening. I know we had 15 downloads a couple weeks ago or whatever it was. It doesn't matter if it's one person listening. You've got questions. I know it. I know you have questions. Please reach out. I'm telling you, I can't count the number of people my dad has helped. And if he's not the one, he will help you find the person that can. But he wants to help you. We want to help you. Please reach out, ask questions, send an email, whatever it is. Let's start a conversation with anybody that's out there listening. Let's get this going. Let's see how we can help you. And there's no benefit in correct me if I'm wrong, Dad. You don't get any benefit from it We're not making money here. This is just, hey, here's a man that wants to help. He's given you his heart and his soul, and he's gone through the gates of hell to be able to provide it for you. And if you're there and there's no stupid question, it doesn't matter. Just throw it out there. He's here. He ain't going to be here forever. So better get on it.
What?
Wow, there it goes. Went dark a little bit there at the end.
Wow.
No, I mean everything I said. Just I think there's people out there that you can help, that are listening right now, that are hearing this and feel like, you know what? I need some guidance on how to walk through the situation I'm in.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you said 15 downloads. I guarantee you out of those 15 people, they all know somebody. They all know
Absolutely.
that needs help. They all know a situation where, they can pass this on to somebody and say, hey, why don't you listen to this? Why don't you take a few minutes and listen to this? Because it can grow. I mean, we're here to help. It's not just me. It's all. And without this forum, where does all this knowledge go? I mean, I'm over here. Heck, they can't even speak English over here. I can't help people I can't even talk to. But so, without this forum, it's just a waste. I think it's just.
Yeah.
That's why I want. Jonathan recognized this when him and I sat down and had conversations. He recognized that my stories and my stuff was important. And so he made the suggestion that we might want to record this, we might want to record your stories. And he started having some questions about, well, how did you work these steps? And what's it? And that's how this whole thing started. Michael and I have talked about doing this for, I don't know how long, doing something. I wanted to do live coaching, or I wanted to go do, sober living, or something. I wanted to do something to be able to give this back. And I just think this is such a good forum. But you're right. If nobody sees this, it's, there's people out there that need help. I know we can help people. It's not just me, it's you guys too, Yeah. I'll guide you.
Sorry. Please tell us, you're going to guide us through?
Yeah, I'll teach you guys. I'll give you.
I love it. By the way, we've had 385 downloads since we started.
Wow.
So, all right.
That's a lot.
Wow.
That's good, I think.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah, 300 of them is just us three here.
That's just me. Yeah, I just keep downloading.
Just keep downloading that.
Yeah. A lot of that's me trying to, sandbag this a little bit, but no,
that's perfect.
That was just a beautiful, beautiful conversation. I'd love to continue, and I hope we can do this again, all three of us, and let's keep the conversation going.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm always willing to be on again. So if we want to keep this going, please.
I love it.
I think you're a part of this, man.
All right. Am I?
If you can show up.
Oh, please.
He's coaching, bald, and doing all kinds of things. This guy's busy.
I'm not just chilling in Thailand, hanging out on the beach. I wish I was, but I've never been invited.
Well, if you work real hard, you keep doing what you're doing, someday you might get here. Who knows?
Yeah.
I love it.
Whatever.
Well, we're going to sign off then, I guess.
All right.
Great. Everybody listening, reach out to us. In the show notes, there's a link to text us directly. So click that link. You can get in contact with us. You can go pusheachothertothetop.com. There's an email link there as well. So reach out to us. We'd love to help and get you pointed to Brent or to whoever else to help you out. So we'll see you all next time.
Keep coming back.
Thank you. Push each other to the top.
Thanks for listening to Push Each Other to the Top. Brent's story is a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there's still a path forward and someone willing to walk it with us. If this episode meant something to you, share it. And if you're struggling right now, please know you're not alone. Follow the show wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss the next story. And if you can, leave a quick review. It helps more people find these conversations. New episodes drop soon. We hope you'll come back. Continue listening for behind the scenes moment after we ended the episode.
That should be your sign off, Dad. Keep coming back.
Keep coming back. I
Keep
love that.
coming back.
It's so
Yeah.
It
I've
works
heard
if
that
you work
before.
it.
Listen to you.
good. No, we got to get all the catchphrases down. Huh?
Live and let live. One day at a time. These are all little sayings in AA. They have them on little cards, and most AA rooms have these cards posted all over.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where he's getting all this stuff.
The end of the Serenity Prayer, the end of every meeting, everyone says, "Keep coming back," and then they started. I think you guys started it, Dad, right? Keep coming back. It works if you work it.
Yeah. Well, everybody, yeah.
Because you said keep coming back, it works, I think, is what it was in the beginning. But you started it, or the group you were in, one of the groups started saying it works if you work it.
Nice.
Because you're worth it.
Because you're worth it. Yeah, then you added that.
Whoa, it's just like grows. Yeah. I love it.
Then that 15-second prayer ends up being a minute and a half.